ठीक है. So basically in this lecture we'll discuss methods of recovery by banking and financial institutions.
Right.
तो प्रिंसिपली बैंकिंग और फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस के पास जो मोड ऑफ रिकवरी है, सपोज बैंक और फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशन ने जो लोन दिया है एंड दैट टर्न्स आउट टू बी नॉन परफॉर्मिंग एसेट, or for some reason it is a temporary insolvency or bankruptcy of the borrower or guarantor for such matters. So how do banks and financial institutions proceed to recover the loan advance? क्योंकि principally अगर if those borrowings are not recovered according to the time limit or according to the financial planning, it affects the setback of the economy, because it's not only the private sector that is into the playing field, but a lot of government institutions by way of PSUs or specific financial institution, for example SIDBI or SIC Industries, they also advance loans. So अगर कोई भी financial distress आता है तो a major chunk of financial economy is also rooted through these institutions. So it is very appropriate कि जो loan advance किया गया है in the market for whatever purpose, that has to be recovered in a time bound manner in such a way कि वो loss book नहीं हो. जितना जिस amount का advance किया हुआ है, जिस time period के लिए गया है, उस पे जो estimation of interest था या profit capability थी, that is recovered timely. So basically जितने भी banks और financial institutions हैं इंडिया में, they follow 5 to 6 acts में अलग अलग power exercise करके अपने जितने भी loans होते हैं उनको recover करते हैं. उसमें से कुछ steps हैं, जैसे civil या commercial recovery suit होता है under CPC. Commercial transactions के लिए commercial suit और civil suit. But क्योंकि इसकी process of recovery runs into years and decades, इसलिए कुछ स्पेशल एनैक्टमेंट्स बनाई गई थी which was only for banking and financial institutions. Like RDDB Act बना था 1993 में, that was recovery of debts due to banks and financial institutions act, and एक सारफेजी एक्ट बनाया गया था 2002 में, जिसमें विदाउट कोर्ट इंटरफेरेंस बैंक्स और फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस को ये पावर दी गई थी कि जो आपके मोर्गेज क्रिएट किए गए हैं लोन अकॉर्ड करते समय, उसको आप विदाउट कोर्ट इंटरफेरेंस के एक प्रोसीजर स्टैब्लिश किया हुआ है जो एक्ट में, उसके अकॉर्डिंग रिकवर करें. तो प्रिंसिपली ये लेक्चर हम सारफेजी एक्ट पे डिस्कस करेंगे, बट उससे पहले मैं चाहता हूँ सारे मेजर प्रिंसिपल एक्ट जिनसे मेथड ऑफ रिकवरी है, हम ब्रीफली उनको एक बार डिस्कस करें. तो 3 एक्ट हमारे सीपीसी का सिविल और कमर्शियल सूट, आरडीडीबी एक्ट, सारफेजी एक्ट. फोर्थ इज आर्बिट्रेशन एंड कंसिलिएशन एक्ट में आर्बिट्रेशन या कंसिलिएशन एग्जीक्यूट करना. आर्बिट्रेशन एंड कंसिलिएशन एक्ट में भी आफ्टर एन अवार्ड ऑफ द आर्बिट्रेटर, क्योंकि उसकी एग्जीक्यूशन हैपेंस थ्रू अ सिविल कोर्ट ओनली, इसलिए आर्बिट्रेशन कंसिलिएशन एक्ट इज आल्सो नॉट कंसिडर्ड टू बी अ वेरी क्विक रिकवरी मेथड. फिर फोर्थ स्टेप है इंसॉल्वेंसी प्रोसीडिंग्स बिफोर एनसीएलटी और डीआरटी. अभी क्योंकि आईबीसी कोड 2016 में पार्ट 2 नोटिफाई हो गया, जिसमें इंसॉल्वेंसी एंड बैंक्रप्सी अगेंस्ट अ कॉर्पोरेट डेटर तो नोटिफाई हो गया, बट पार्ट 3 जिसमें पर्सनल इंडिविजुअल के अगेंस्ट इंसॉल्वेंसी पिटिशंस या बैंक्रप्सी पिटिशंस इनिशिएट होनी थी, since that is not notified, इसलिए that is limited only for borrowers who are corporate debtors. फिर एक लास्ट मेथड ऑफ रिकवरी तो नहीं, बट कंसिलिएशन, वो बोरोवर्स और गारंटर्स जो परमानेंट लोक अदालत में कंसिलिएशन के लिए आ जाते हैं. सपोज उनके पास आर्बिट्रेशन का नोटिस आया, या सपोज दे अंडरस्टैंड कि हमारे पास पेइंग कैपेसिटी है बट इतनी नहीं है कि हम अपना पूरा इंटायर डेट पे ऑफ करें, सो दे प्रेफर कंसिलिएशन बिफोर परमानेंट लोक अदालत, जहाँ पे बैंक की तरफ से रिकवरी इनिशिएट नहीं होती, बट क्योंकि सेटलमेंट होता है तो वहां से बैंक इज एबल टू रिकवर सब्सटैंशियल अमाउंट ऑफ डेट. So principally sir, इसमें if anybody has any problem or any question or any query, they can like raise hand or they can inquire on personal chat. Hello.
They'll continue.
Hello.
Continue.
Just one doubt I had, small thing. Whether
Yes.
the DRT is functioning right now currently. What
So
is the
currently,
filing procedure?
so in DRT, filing was online, but they are accepting physical filing as well. But since
Okay.
the courts in Rajasthan are functioning only and only for limited and urgent matters, so
Mm-hmm.
practically there are no urgency for especially recovery methods, because कहीं पे अभी at present auction नहीं हो रहा है या कोई
Mm-hmm.
disposition नहीं हो रहा है. दो अभी तक किसी
Mm-hmm.
हाई कोर्ट या सुप्रीम कोर्ट की कोई गाइडलाइन रिगार्डिंग टू नॉन इन्फोर्समेंट ऑफ सिक्योरिटीज के लिए नहीं आई है. जैसे जबलपुर हाई कोर्ट ने पास करी है ड्यूरिंग 2021, या जैसे 2020 में जब नॉन कोअर्सिव सो मोटो 3/2020 में जो ऑर्डर्स
Mm-hmm.
पास हुए थे, लास्ट टाइम इट वाज क्लेरिकल स्पेसिफिकली
Providing.
provided that no coercive actions related to tenants or to borrowers must be taken. Similar guidelines have not been passed till now. So probably bank and financial institution may proceed ahead, but probably या तो कोई कर नहीं रहा है या फिर they are not being challenged. But the tribunal is working for urgent matters if you deem it.
Okay.
But the method of proceedings are same. You file your matter and put an application before the registrar for the urgency. And if your
Mm-hmm.
case is treated as urgent, it would be put up before the presiding officer for hearing through a video conferencing.
Okay.
So since we are talking about DRT, तो जो दो method of recovery acts हैं जो we have discussed किए थे, RDDB Act and SARFAESI Act, both of which presently जिनसे related suits DRT में proceed होते हैं. First is RDDB Act, wherein bank file a civil suit which is more than the due of which is more than 20 lakhs before the DRT. अब difference क्या है commercial and civil suit का which is being filed in commercial court or civil court in CPC, और जो RDDB FI Act में DRT में फाइल होता है. जो civil suit फाइल हो रहा है civil court में या commercial court में, that can be filed by anyone. Suppose I claim any sum of amount from BC. I am not a financial lender, or I'm just a person who helped my friend or relative or known, and that legal claim is there, and that person is not paying me off. I can go ahead and file a civil suit. However, in DRT under RDDB Act, only banks and financial institutions can file cases for recovery, and because it is summarily in nature, they are decided at a faster rate than a normal civil suit. CPC has to be followed, but not every other specific procedure. This is summarily trial. दूसरे टाइप के जो पिटिशंस DRT में फाइल होते हैं, दैट इज अंडर SARFAESI एक्ट. SARFAESI एक्ट जैसे हमने डिस्कस किया था, दिस इज एन एक्ट जिसके अंदर एक प्रोसीजर दे दिया है बैंक और फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस को कि अगर आपके पास कोई लोन या मोर्गेज लोन आपने किसी को सैंक्शन दिया किया है, एंड दैट लोन हैज टर्न्ड आउट टू बी नॉन परफॉर्मिंग एसेट, या ओवरड्यू हो गया है, बहुत टाइम से वो रीपे नहीं हो पाया, या जो इंस्टॉलमेंट है दैट आर बीइंग ओवरड्यू फॉर अ लॉन्गर पीरियड ऑफ टाइम, एक प्रोसीजर स्टैब्लिश्ड है SARFAESI एक्ट में, जिसको फॉलो करते हुए विदाउट इंटरफेरेंस ऑफ कोर्ट, the bank or the financial institution can proceed to sell that mortgage asset, और उससे जो भी रिकवरी आती है that may be appropriated towards the loan account. उससे सरप्लस आती है that has to be given back to the borrower or guarantor. उससे डेफिसिट आती है तो बैलेंस अमाउंट के लिए they can proceed for other recovery measures जो उनके पास है. सपोज जो ओवरड्यू अमाउंट है वो उसमें से 80% रिकवर हो गई है, तो बची हुई बैलेंस अमाउंट के लिए they can prefer RDDB एक्ट के अंदर जो क्लेम है उनका. तो SARFAESI एक्ट के अंदर जो प्रोसीजर है उसको हम इस लेक्चर में डिस्कस करें, क्योंकि उसी प्रोसीजर में अगर कोई सा भी एक पॉइंट डिफॉल्ट करती है बैंक या फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशन, that gives you a ground to challenge the entire SARFAESI proceeding and that is essentially what the borrowers require to stay the bank or the financial institutions for their recovery proceedings. अगर वो recovery proceeding halt हो जाती है या stay हो जाती है, that gives a breather amount to the borrower or the guarantor to find a way so that the amount is repaid and their mortgage asset is not sold. Because SARFAESI Act के implications इतने हैं, you're running factory which is might be going through a temporary insolvency, you will not be able to run it in a manner to recover the entire proceeds. तो उस टाइम पे उन borrower guarantors के लिए that breathing time for a year or 2 years that you get from the court to run your own factory gives a ray of hope that your factory is still there and you just repay that amount. तो अगर वो procedure हम लोगों ने समझ लिया, so it's very beneficial to lawyers to understand ki on what grounds can we challenge, where can we prefer a securitization application before DRT, and we can help the borrower in securing their asset and not being sold under SARFAESI proceedings. तो SARFAESI proceedings में initially क्या होता है, जब आपका account is classified as NPA, तो उस classification के लिए बहुत सारे norms हैं. RBI की guideline है 2015 के income recognition and asset reconstruction norms हैं, which has classified terms कि जो current account है, जो saving जो term loan account है, how when do you classify it as an NPA? तो हमारा first ground जो बनता है to challenge an application before DRT was classification of NPA. But classification किस time पे challenge कर सकते हैं, that is also there. Section 13, if you see SARFAESI Act का, provide for the entire procedure which the bank or financial institution has to follow while taking the secured asset in their possession and subsequently putting it on auction for sale. तो 13(2) में जो notice आता है, 13(2) में जो first notice एक बैंक या financial institution borrower या guarantors को देता है, that would be requiring the borrower or guarantor both. अगर किसी loan में guarantors हैं, तो that notice must be given to the guarantor also if the property mortgage in that loan belongs to the guarantor. अगर आपने guarantor को loan नहीं दिया है, this is also one of the ground on which you can challenge the SARFAESI action, because that guarantor was never aware of the SARFAESI proceedings being pending against him. तो वो जो 13(2) का notice है, उसकी essential conditions क्या है? एक first is it has to be a 60 days notice. Second is ये जो notice है 13(2) का, जो demand notice है, that would require the amount of due against the borrower or the guarantors. 60 days में if you pay such and such amount which is pending against you in the loan account, we will not proceed further with the SARFAESI action and rather come for conciliation and settle your account in accordance with you. So 60 days ka notice has to be given to borrowers and guarantors both, and it should record the details of the amount as well as the secured asset which is proposed to be proceeded further in the SARFAESI Act. ये जो amount और secured asset वाली provision है, that is given in section 13(3) of the SARFAESI Act. इस पे गुजरात हाई कोर्ट का एक recent judgment भी है 2019 का, उसमें amount of borrowing was miscalculated. मतलब 3 loan account थे, उसमें से only 2 loan accounts का due was given. So when it was subsequently challenged, it was discussed that since आपकी SARFAESI action में it was a requirement for you to give the details of the amount due, either that notice has to be amended at the relevant point of time, or now you give up your right to recover that amount in accordance with law. So that is one of the ground on which you can challenge the 13(2) notice. 13(2) notice के subsequent क्या होता है? 13(3)(a) में borrower or the guarantor on whom 13(2) notice is given has a right to prefer a representation or objection stating कि आपने ये notice मेरे को गलत दिया है, or this notice suffers from some irregularity, or it suffers from some deficiency which needs to be cured or needs to be clarified right now. Otherwise, you cannot proceed ahead with that. So इस representation और objection को file करने की कोई limitation is not given in the act. However, if any borrower or guarantor prefers any representation or objection, that has to be decided by the concerned bank or financial institution within a period of 15 days. They have to record it with the reasons why they are accepting the objection or representation, or if they are not accepting it, the reasons why it is not being done. NPA is non-performing asset. I think somebody asked this question on chat. NPA is non-performing asset, wherein if your there are different levels on which your account is classified. Suppose मेरी installment due थी 10th of every month for rupees 80,000, and अगर मैं 10 तारीख तक इस month के 80,000 rupees जमा नहीं करा पाया, तो ऐसा नहीं है कि 11th तारीख को ही मैं एक defaulter घोषित किया जा सकता हूँ. So after a period of time, एक appropriate time तक बैंक gives me time कि ठीक है, he will pay. तो उन सब चीजों को consider करते हुए for different loan accounts, different classification is given. On an average, generally for a term loan account, it is 90 days from the last installment due. अगर मैंने कोई installment for longer period of 90 days तक नहीं दिया, my asset is classified as non-performing asset, that is NPA. And after the completion of 90 days, when my account is classified as NPA, the bank, and I have not paid the amount, the bank has the power to initiate to issue the notice, demand notice under section 13(2), which we were discussing right now. So 13(2) का demand notice issue होने के बाद, और borrower ने अगर कोई representation prefer किया है और उसके reply के बाद, और अगर नहीं किया है, तो after 60 days, if I have not complied with the notice, the bank has the power to attach my assets under section 13(4). अब assets में movable assets भी होते हैं, immovable assets भी होते हैं. 13(4) के different appendixes में there are different forms given. अगर movable asset attach करना है, तो rule 4 में जो notice है, that has to be given. अगर immovable property है, तो rule 8 का जो notice है, that has to be given. Suppose a bank has committed an irregularity, rule 8 का notice मेरी movable property की description दे रहा है, और rule 4 का notice मेरी immovable property की description दे रहा है. So that is categorically wrong. You can challenge the action of the bank or the concerned NBFC on that ground also. The rules, because it is a very huge power given to the bank or the financial institution. Every procedure has to be followed in letter and spirit. A small irregularity can be challenged, even if it doesn't sail. Finally, आपके ऐसे allow होती है या नहीं होती है. You give the breathing time to the borrower, which is beneficial for you and the client for both. So moving ahead, 13(4) के बाद suppose आपका
just one doubt, मतलब won't it be a curable defect in nature if the notice has been served from different category as you explained under section 13(4) and
yes,
13(8)?
It is a curable effect, but since the moment you challenge, the curable effect will not be so moto by the bank the moment you have challenged it. So the breathing time you secure for your client by challenging the petition, seeking reply from the bank or the financial institution, then getting an order on that description would give sufficient time to the borrower. Sometimes the time of 3-4 months is also very essential for the borrowers. Crucial. rather than getting the property auction for no use. So after 13(4), where your property has been taken in possession by the authorized officer of the bank or the financial institution, the property is to be auctioned. Now 13(4) की जो attachment and possession है, that is also because every borrower and guarantor are different, properties differently located होती है, ऐसा नहीं कि everything is under civil jurisdiction. So the bank has devolved two ways of taking possession of the mortgage asset. One is symbolic possession, one is actual possession. Symbolic possession means जब possession लेंगे तो आपके घर के आपकी जो भी secured asset है उसकी property के गेट पे और एनी कॉन्स्पिशियस प्लेस पे आपका नोटिस पेस जो पोजीशन नोटिस है दैट वुड बी पेस्टेड. आपको घर से बाहर नहीं निकाला जाएगा या आपको एक्चुअल पोजीशन नहीं ली जाएगी प्रॉपर्टी की. ओनली सिंबॉलिक इन नेचर स्टेटिंग दैट क्योंकि ये आपका डिफॉल्ट था और आपने आपको डिमांड नोटिस के बाद भी यू हैव नॉट पेड द अमाउंट, वी आर टेकिंग द एसेट इनटू आवर पोजीशन. उस पोजीशन नोटिस पेस्ट होने के बाद they will proceed for actual possession. Now actual possession क्यों कैसे ली जाती है और क्यों ली जाती है? Secured creditor has a power to attach your property suo motu, खुद से भी कर सकती है. But क्योंकि there are instances where criminal claims have been raised against the authorized officer of the bank. कई बार civil tension is also created by goons or Markotai is also possible. Therefore, section 14 may there's an application which is preferred by the secured creditor or NBFC. Through there are two forums. One is a district magistrate of the concerned district, जहाँ पे आपकी mortgage asset है, or to the chief judicial magistrate, where on whose jurisdiction the mortgage asset is situated. There's an application which is preferred under section 14 of this act, Sarfazi Act में, and there's a categorical affidavit, 14 pointer affidavit that has to be submitted by the NBFC or the secured creditor, which needs to be filed before the concerned forum where you are preferring section 14 application. Any irregularity in that section 14 application is also a ground to challenge Sarfazi action. उन 14 pointers में से कोई सी भी एक legal lacuna अगर miss हो जाता है, तो that amounts to a ground for challenge. So suppose section 14 की requirement है कि आपको 13.2 और 13.4 के जो symbolic के जो documents हैं, that has to be filed on affidavit by the authorized officer with proof कि हमने 13.2 deliver किया था, उसकी compliances पूरी करी थी. So suppose that is not given, so that amounts to challenge for section 14. Section 14 is also challenged before DRT under section 17 application. अब section borrower or the guarantor is जो section 14 की proceedings है, are they administrative in nature or judicial in nature? ये case अभी recently Supreme Court से decide भी हुआ है, stating that it is an administrative nature, but it might again be put to challenge for the only reason कि 2013 से पहले the position of law was settled. Section 14 में कोई affidavit की requirement नहीं थी, and it was only for seeking police assistance. Suppose some secured creditor or NBFC has a problem taking the actual possession of the secured asset, they put in an application in which the concerned district magistrate or CJM doesn't have to apply his mind. They just have to grant a police protection so that the possession can be taken by the concerned NBFC or the financial institution. But after 2013, amendment was carried out in section 14 where the requirement of an affidavit was given, and purposely the words were incorporated in section 14 stating that upon satisfaction of the concerned authority thereby means the district magistrate or the chief judicial magistrate, upon recording his satisfaction, the approval for police protection or the assistance may be provided. So after 2013, when these words were incorporated, it was debated and many borrowers and guarantors have started preferring application or at least their representation to buy some time to delay this recovery proceedings. So because people used to file caveats and other things before the CJM or the district magistrate. Few district magistrates in Rajasthan, I have seen examples, have made it a practice that before they give police protection to the borrowers, they issue notices to the borrowers or to the tenants. So suppose you make a valid claim before the district magistrate on of which he might not have powers. You still buy some time to your clients to get his loan, a possibility of repayment of loan or to restructure his loan in some manner or the other. So these are few possible grounds on which a petition under SARFAESI Act is maintainable, on which you can help the client who might not be a bankrupt, who might be in a temporary insolvency, or who might be able to find out a way in which he can repay the entire loan. So yeah, this was it. There was some exceptions also. SARFAESI Act में section 31 में कुछ limitation is provided. The bank and financial institution are given powers. However, those powers are only limited. कुछ जो exceptions है section 31 में, उसमें से कुछ important exceptions है कि suppose your principal amount is 1 crore and जो net amount due आ रही है, that is roughly 1 crore with principal and interest. So if your as on date outstanding is less than 20%, then the bank and the financial institution has no power to proceed under the SARFAESI Act. And one more exception which is important, which is overlooked by many banks and financial institutions, is the amount has to be more than 1 lakh rupees. So principally these 2 points is also good grounds for challenge, because many NBFCs and financial institutions overlook this concept, that the loan should be more than 1 lakh rupees and it should be more than 20% of the principal amount due. So iske alawa, if somebody has any question or you want to ask anything, you may go ahead.
There was one question with reference to the pecuniary jurisdiction and prerequisites to that in different modes, which wasn't clear, which is there in the chat. If you please.
I believe that's all right. You did explain about that. So you did mention those.
Okay, so pecuniary jurisdiction earlier under RDDB Act was 10 lakhs, which was subsequently amended by a financial amendment to the Financial Act, and as on date it stays 20 lakhs and above under the RDDB Act, in which the bank claims. But under SARFAESI that I've cleared, it has to be more than 20% of the net amount due, and the amount should be more than 1 lakh rupees.
Principal amount.
The principal amount has to be 1 lakh rupees.
What's the conflict of jurisdiction between the commercial code and the DRT?
There's no conflict of interest. It's DRT is a specialized tribunal which is conferred with a summarily procedure. So principally bank and financial institution are of the view that if the claim is more than 20 lakh rupees, they prefer it before the DRT, because the recovery is supposedly fast and steady. However, for bank has to recover their loan for less than 20 lakh rupees also. So for such loans, if they are of commercial nature, they prefer commercial suit after this commercial constitution of commercial code. For agricultural loan, there are specific acts, like in Rajasthan, there's Rakuruda, Rajasthan Agricultural Land, in which advances given under agricultural, which is more than less than 20 lakh rupees, can be executed through civil court. There's one more question.
For individual lenders, the question is there.
Where the individual listed? See, individual lenders, to my knowledge, there cannot be individual lenders, because the Income Tax Act has been amended now, prohibits you from lending for commercial use.
Exactly.
money to the open public, and the only exception is you can lend it to your blood relatives, and there's a categorization of what blood relatives are. So if you're a private lender who's into lending money lending business, the appropriate remedy would be is if you take if you may proceed for a civil suit for money claim, or if you have post dated checks which you have kept as security, which eventually I don't think so would is it's used only to create pressure, and no claim would be maintainable out of it. So for institutional clients, SARFAESI is there. Is there any overlapping area between IBC and DRT? See, if a corporate debtor is there and it has gone into liquidation already, otherwise SARFAESI Act and IBC Act, the position has been clear that both can run concurrently. But suppose the corporate debtor is already into liquidation, the liquidator is appointed, then under the SARFAESI claim, if the liquidation has been initiated before the SARFAESI action was started and the SARFAESI action got completed, then the liquidator cannot adjudicate upon the amount or the proceeds which were recovered. But after the liquidation has started, the entire claim would be subject to the outcome of the liquidation.
Also, there is also a moratorium period imposed by the NCLT tribunal once CIRP gets admitted, post which I
Yes.
don't
So
deem it appropriate that the DRT will be taking into cognizance whatever the amount of debt is due to the banks and institutions.
exactly what I'm saying. If the moratorium period, if the SARFAESI action has been completed, the possession has been taken, the auction has been completed, the proceeds have been realized, and the sale certificate is issued, and post that an IRP has been appointed, then the IRP cannot upset the sale or reverse the sale. However, if pending SARFAESI procedure, IRP is already appointed, then the claim of the IRP, the proceeding will happen in the IRP court or to the subsequent liquidation proceeding. So any further question if somebody wants? So Kapil sir. Kapil sir, your mic is mute.
Mike.
Okay. Okay. I'm audible now.
Yes.
Yeah.
So thank you, Sarthak, for this informative lecture, and we shall hear from you on some of the topics.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Okay, bye.